Instructor Kelvin sat in his small office at the Galactic Defense Academy, the glow of multiple holographic screens casting blue light across his tired face. He had been reviewing training footage for hours, preparing his report on the recent field exercises. Most of it was routine. Cadets making predictable mistakes. Standard tactical responses. Nothing that would change how the Academy taught survival. Then he opened the file labeled Squad Gamma Telos 3 Mission Day 1. The footage showed a nighttime scene. 6 cadets huddled around a campfire in a clearing on the hostile moon. Their thermal signatures glowed bright orange against the cold purple landscape. Kelvin watched as the squad leader, a tall Kryn named Travis, gestured enthusiastically while explaining his plan for the next day. The other cadets nodded and asked questions. It looked like any other training exercise. Then the attack came. A pack of Telos predators, sleek and deadly, burst from the surrounding forest. The footage switched to multiple camera angles as chaos erupted. 5 cadets scrambled for weapons. Travis shouted orders. Someone screamed. The predators moved with terrifying speed, their claws flashing in the firelight. But one cadet was already safe. Kelvin leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. He rewound the footage and watched again. 20 minutes before the attack, while the others had been setting up camp in the obvious clearing, one human cadet had quietly moved her bedroll to a different location. She had chosen a spot 30 meters away, tucked between 2 large rocks with a clear escape route behind her. She had not announced this decision. She had not explained her reasoning. She had simply done it. When the predators attacked, she was completely outside their strike zone. Kelvin froze the image on her face. The name tag read, Cadet Maya Chin. He did not recognize her, which was unusual. Kelvin prided himself on knowing every cadet in the tactical theory program. He taught 3 of the core classes himself. How had he missed this one? He pulled up her academic file. Maya Chin. Human. Age 22. Enrolled 8 months ago. Test scores. Above average in written exams, excellent in physical assessments, outstanding in simulation accuracy. But then Kelvin saw the participation grades. Every single one was marked low. Her instructors had noted the same thing across all her classes. Never volunteers answers. Does not engage in classroom discussion. Appears disengaged during lectures. Kelvin frowned. He opened his own class records and searched for her name. There she was, sitting in the 4th row of his advanced tactical theory course. He tried to remember her face but he could not. In a class of 40 cadets, she had been invisible. He checked the participation log. The academy system automatically tracked how many times each cadet raised their hand, spoke during discussions or asked questions. Most cadets averaged 15 to 20 contributions per class session. The top students often hit 30 or more, eager to demonstrate their knowledge and impress their instructors. Maya Chen's number was 0. Not 0 for one class. 0 for the entire semester. In 6 months of tactical theory courses, across dozens of lectures and discussions, she had never once raised her hand. She had never volunteered an answer. She had never asked a single question. Kelvin sat back in his chair, confused. At the Galactic Defense Academy, vocal participation was everything. The instructors believed that officers needed to think out loud, to share their tactical assessments quickly and clearly. Wars were won by leaders who could articulate their strategies under pressure. Silent cadets were considered weak, hesitant, or worse, incompetent. Yet this silent cadet had just saved her entire squad. He returned to the footage and continued watching. The attack lasted 4 minutes. When it was over and the predators had retreated, the 5 cadets who had been caught in the clearing were shaken but alive. Travis had a minor injury. The others were terrified. They had survived only because their emergency shields had activated in time. Maya emerged from her position between the rocks, calm and composed. She helped treat Travis's wound. She assisted with securing the perimeter. She worked efficiently and without hesitation. But she still did not speak unless directly asked a question, and even then, her answers were brief. Kelvin fast-forwarded through the rest of the 3-day exercise. He watched Maya's behavior carefully now, looking for patterns. What he saw fascinated him. While the other cadets talked constantly, debating every decision and announcing their observations, Maya simply watched. She studied the terrain. She noted the wind direction. She observed how the native creatures moved through the forest. She paid attention to everything but she processed it all internally. On the 2nd day the squad needed to cross a wide river. Travis proposed building a raft. Another cadet suggested finding a shallow crossing point upstream. A third wanted to use their emergency climbing gear to create a zip line. They argued for 20 minutes, their voices rising as each defended their idea. Maya walked along the riverbank alone. She examined the water flow. She tested the depth with a long stick. She studied the rocks and the current patterns. Then she returned and waited quietly while the others continued their debate. Finally, Travis noticed her standing there. "What do you think, Chin?" Maya pointed downstream. "There. Underwater ridge. 30 centimeters deep. Current flows around it." The squad followed her and found exactly what she had described. They crossed easily, the water barely reaching their knees. It took 5 minutes instead of the hour they would have spent building a raft or rigging a zip line. Travis looked at her with new respect. "How did you know that was there?" Maya shrugged. "Watch the surface patterns. Different ripples mean different depths." Kelvin replayed that section 3 times. He had taught river crossing techniques in his class just 2 months ago. He remembered explaining how to read water surfaces to identify hidden features. Apparently, Maya had been listening, even though she had never raised her hand to demonstrate that knowledge. The pattern repeated throughout the exercise. When the squad needed to find water, Maya located it without fanfare. When they needed to avoid dangerous territory, she simply started walking a different direction and the others learned to follow. When they had to decide where to camp each night, she would quietly position herself in the safest spot, and eventually the squad realized they should set up near her. She never announced her reasoning. She never explained her decisions unless specifically asked. She simply observed, assessed, and acted. By the end of the 3 days, Squad Gamma had the best performance scores of any team in the exercise. They had covered the most distance, encountered the fewest dangers, and maintained the highest energy levels. Their success was recorded in the official metrics, but the footage told the real story. The quiet human cadet had guided them through everything. Kelvin closed the files and sat in silence for a long moment. He thought about his own teaching methods. He thought about how the academy evaluated cadets. He thought about Maya Chin sitting in his classroom for 6 months, absorbing everything but never speaking. He had almost failed her for low participation. Now her footage was going to change how they taught survival. The transport ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of Talos 3. Maya Chin gripped the safety harness across her chest and stared out the small viewport at the moon's surface below. Purple and gray terrain stretched endlessly, dotted with dark forests and jagged rock formations. Talos 3 was classified as a hostile environment. The wildlife was aggressive. The plants were toxic. The weather changed without warning. Perfect for a survival test. "Listen up, Squad Gamma." Travis stood at the front of the transport bay, his voice booming over the engine noise. The Kryn warrior was tall and muscular, with ridged facial features that marked his species. He had been chosen as squad leader because he was confident and vocal. "We drop in 5 minutes. Our mission is simple. March 50 kilometers to the extraction point. We have 72 hours. Stay together, stay alert, and follow my commands." The other squad members nodded enthusiastically. There was Lyra, a blue-skinned Zentarii female who specialized in communications. Beside her sat Dax, a stocky Horon male known for his engineering skills. Next to Maya was Fun, a tall insectoid Thrix who excelled at navigation. The last member was Cole, another human male who loved tactical discussions and never missed a chance to share his opinions. Maya said nothing. She checked her equipment quietly. Water purification tablets. Emergency rations. Medical kit. Climbing rope. Standard issue survival gear. Everything was in order. "Chin?" Travis called out. "You ready?" Maya looked up and nodded once. Travis frowned slightly. "Verbal confirmation, cadet." "Yes, sir," Maya replied softly. Travis seemed satisfied but not impressed. Maya knew what he thought of her. What they all thought. The quiet one. The one who never spoke in class. The one who probably would not last long in a real combat situation. She had heard the whispers. She had seen the doubtful looks from her instructors. She did not try to change their minds. Words were cheap. Actions mattered more. The transport ship's rear door hissed open. Cold air rushed into the bay, carrying the strange scent of Talos 3's alien vegetation. Below them, a cleared landing zone appeared among the purple forests. "Go, go, go!" Travis shouted. The squad jumped out one by one, their landing thrusters firing automatically to slow their descent. Maya landed last, her boots hitting the soft ground with a gentle thud. She immediately scanned the surrounding area while the others gathered around Travis. The forest was dense. The trees had thick trunks covered in dark moss. Strange vines hung between branches. The ground was covered in purple grass that swayed gently despite no wind. Maya noted the direction of the sway. Underground water movement, probably. Or something burrowing beneath the surface. All right, team. Travis pulled out his navigation device. Extraction point is northeast, 50 kilometers. If we maintain good pace, we can cover 20 kilometers today, 25 tomorrow, and have plenty of time for the final stretch on day 3. What about rest periods? Lyra asked. We'll stop every 4 hours for 15 minutes, Travis announced. Make camp tonight at sunset. Standard security rotation. Cole stepped forward, studying his own device. I think we should push harder today. Cover 30 kilometers while we have daylight. Set up camp closer to the extraction point. Too risky, Dax countered. We don't know the terrain. Better to pace ourselves. I disagree, Finn clicked, his translator converting his speech. Cole's plan is efficient. Travis held up his hand. We stick to my plan. 20 kilometers today. That's an order. The squad began walking. Travis led from the front, calling out observations. Watch for loose rocks. Stay in single file. Keep your communicators on. Maya walked near the back just ahead of Cole. She watched everything. The way the purple grass moved. The patterns of light filtering through the tree canopy. The sounds of distant creatures calling to each other. She noticed scratch marks on several tree trunks at roughly the same height. Large predator marking territory. She noticed broken branches near the ground. Something heavy had moved through here recently. She said nothing. This terrain is pretty stable, Cole announced loudly. Good visibility too. We could probably move faster. We maintain current pace, Travis replied firmly. They marched for 3 hours. Maya's legs felt strong. Her breathing was steady. She had trained extensively for this. While other cadets had spent their free time in the recreation areas or socializing, Maya had run obstacle courses. She had practiced navigation. She had studied survival manuals in the library. When they stopped for their first rest break, everyone else collapsed onto nearby rocks, breathing heavily. Maya remained standing. She walked a slow circle around the group, her eyes scanning the forest. Chin, take a break, Travis ordered. Maya sat down but kept watching. She noticed how the sounds of the forest changed. The small creatures that had been chirping went silent suddenly. Then resumed. Then went silent again. A pattern. Something was moving through the area in intervals. We should reach that ridge by sunset, Dax said, pointing to a distant rock formation. Good place to camp. High ground. Agreed, Travis nodded. We'll set up there. They continued walking. The afternoon stretched long. The temperature rose and then began to drop as evening approached. Maya noticed the light changing. The shadows growing longer. She also noticed that the scratch marks on the trees were becoming more frequent. They were entering deeper into something's territory. When they finally reached the ridge at sunset, everyone was exhausted except Maya. Travis immediately began giving orders. Finn, set up the perimeter sensors. Lyra, establish communication check with base. Dax, help me with the shelter. Cole and Chin, gather firewood. Maya and Cole walked into the forest edge. Cole talked the entire time, commenting on the trees, the vegetation, the day's march. Maya collected wood silently, choosing dry pieces that would burn cleanly without too much smoke. When they returned, the camp was taking shape. Travis had chosen a flat clearing at the top of the ridge. It was open with good visibility in all directions. It was also completely exposed. Maya looked around carefully. The clearing was too perfect. Too open. Animals avoided places like this because they offered no protection. If animals avoided it, there was usually a reason. She walked to the edge of the clearing, examining the ground. There were marks in the soil. Long grooves that could be claw marks. Old ones weathered by rain but still visible. This clearing was not naturally empty. Something had cleared it. Something that claimed this space. Maya returned to the camp. Everyone was setting up their sleeping areas in a circle around the fire pit. They were laughing, relaxing now that the day's march was done. Travis was explaining the watch rotation. Lyra was heating rations. It was exactly what the training manuals recommended. Standard military camp procedures. But Maya's instinct said something was wrong. She quietly moved her bedroll. While the others were busy, she carried it 30 meters away to a spot between two large boulders. There was a narrow gap between the rocks, just wide enough for her. Behind the gap, the ground sloped downward, providing an escape route if needed. Chin, what are you doing? Travis called out. Stay with the group. Just checking something, Maya replied softly. But she left her bedroll there. Get back here, Travis ordered. We maintain group cohesion. That's basic survival protocol. Maya walked back to the main camp but said nothing more. She ate her rations quietly while the others talked about the day's journey. Cole was already planning tomorrow's route. Fun was discussing the local ecology. Lyra was complaining about the cold. As darkness fell, Travis took first watch. The others settled into their sleeping bags around the fire. Maya lay in her assigned spot, but she did not close her eyes. She watched the forest edge. She listened to the night sounds. 2 hours passed. The forest had gone completely silent. No insects. No distant calls. Nothing. Maya's heart rate increased slightly. She had read about this. Prey animals went silent when apex predators were near. She slowly reached for her boots and put them on without making noise. Then she carefully slid out of her sleeping bag and moved toward the gap between the boulders where she had left her bedroll earlier. Chin. Travis whispered from his watch position. Where are you going? Bathroom, Maya whispered back. She crawled into the gap between the rocks and positioned herself there, out of sight. She wrapped herself in the bedroll and waited. 15 minutes later, the attack came. They burst from the forest like shadows made solid. 6 predators, each the size of a large wolf, with sleek bodies and razor claws. Their eyes reflected the firelight as they charged into the clearing. Travis shouted a warning. The others scrambled awake. Emergency shields activated automatically, crackling energy barriers that sprang up around each cadet. The predators slammed against the shields, their claws scraping and sparking. Maya watched from her hiding spot between the rocks. The predators circled the camp, testing the shields, looking for weaknesses. One of them turned toward her position. Its eyes locked onto her. But she was 30 meters away, outside the attack zone, and the creature's pack was focused on the concentrated targets around the fire. The attack lasted 4 minutes. The predators finally retreated when they realized the shields were too strong. They melted back into the forest as quickly as they had appeared. Maya emerged from the rocks and walked calmly back to camp. Travis was clutching his arm where he had been struck before his shield fully activated. The others were shaken, their faces pale. You knew, Lyra said, staring at Maya. You knew they were coming. Maya shook her head. I suspected. The clearing was too open. Predators use places like this for hunting. Old claw marks in the soil. Why didn't you say something? Travis demanded, his voice angry and confused. Maya looked at him quietly. How could she explain? That she had tried to show them by moving her bedroll. That actions spoke louder than warnings. That in her experience, when she did speak up, people rarely listened anyway. I moved my position, she said simply. Thought others might follow. The morning after the predator attack, Squad Gamma broke camp in silence. Travis's arm was bandaged but functional. The others moved with new caution, glancing frequently at the forest edges. Maya packed her gear efficiently and waited while the others finished their preparations. Travis gathered everyone together. His voice was quieter than before, less certain. We continue northeast. Stay alert. Watch for signs of wildlife. He paused, then looked at Maya. Chin, you walk near the front with me. If you see anything, any signs of danger, you tell me immediately. Understood. Maya nodded. Yes, sir. They began the day's march. Travis led, but now he kept glancing back at Maya, checking her reactions. She walked steadily, her eyes constantly moving across the terrain. Every few hundred meters she would pause briefly, examining something. A broken branch. Disturbed soil. The way water pooled in certain areas. After an hour they reached a fork in the path. The left route looked clear and wide. The right route was narrow, winding through dense vegetation. Left path is obvious choice, Cole announced. Better visibility, easier walking. Dax agreed. Right path looks difficult. Could slow us down. Travis studied both options. What do you think, Chin? Maya walked a few steps down the left path. She crouched and touched the ground. The soil was soft, almost muddy despite no recent rain. She stood and pointed to the trees lining the path. Several had deep scratch marks, fresh ones. Then she walked to the right path and examined it briefly. Right path, she said simply. Why? Travis asked. Maya gestured to the left path's soft ground. Too wet. Underground water source. Attracts predators. Fresh marks on trees. She pointed right. This path is harder but safer. Travis made his decision quickly. We go right. The squad followed the narrow path. It was slower, requiring them to push through hanging vines and step carefully over roots. But it was quiet. Peaceful. No signs of large predators. After 2 hours, the path opened onto a rocky area with a clear stream running through it. Water break, Travis announced. While the others filled their canteens, Maya walked upstream. She examined the water carefully, watching how it flowed. She noticed small fish swimming near the bank. She picked up a smooth stone and turned it over, studying the moss growing underneath. Then she walked back downstream past the group and continued for another 50 meters. Lyra watched her curiously. What is she doing? Being weird, Cole muttered. But he watched too. Maya returned carrying several wide leaves. They were thick and green with a waxy coating. She set them down near the fire pit that Dax was preparing for lunch. These are safe to eat, Maya said quietly. Boil them first. Taste like spinach. Finn clicked his mandibles skeptically. How do you know they are not poisonous? Maya pointed back downstream. Herbivore droppings contained leaf fragments. Same species. If local animals eat them safely, they are safe for most species. She paused. Academy Survival Manual, Chapter 7. Dax picked up one of the leaves and examined it. She's right. I remember this from class. These are edible once cooked. They boiled the leaves with their rations, stretching their food supply. The leaves tasted bland but added bulk to their meal. Travis watched Maya carefully as he ate. She had not announced her discovery dramatically. She had not explained her reasoning unless asked. She had simply found food and brought it back. After lunch, they continued marching. The terrain became rockier, more difficult. Maya began doing something new. Every 100 meters or so, she would stack 3 small stones in a specific pattern, balancing them carefully. She did this without speaking, without drawing attention to herself. Chin, why are you making those rock piles? Lyra finally asked. Trail markers, Maya replied. In case we need to backtrack. Cole laughed. We have GPS devices. We don't need primitive markers. Maya said nothing. She continued stacking stones. 2 hours later, Finn's navigation device malfunctioned. The screen flickered and died. Then Lyra's device began showing incorrect coordinates. Something in the local geology was interfering with their electronics. Travis pulled out his own device. Was glitching too. Magnetic interference. The rocks in this area must contain high iron content. He looked back along their path. Maya's stone markers were clearly visible, spaced evenly, pointing the way they had come. Good thinking, Chin, Travis said. They continued forward, now relying more on natural navigation. Maya began positioning herself differently during their rest breaks. Instead of sitting with the group, she would walk a short distance away and stand on high ground, or near the edge of their perimeter. She would stay there for the entire break, facing outward. At first, the others thought she was being antisocial. But then Dax noticed something. Whenever Maya chose a position, that area remained quiet and safe. But twice, when the group ignored her positioning and set up in a different spot, they heard threatening sounds from the forest. Growls. Movement in the bushes. They learned to set up camp near wherever Maya stood. By the third day, the pattern was clear. The squad had stopped debating every decision. Instead, they watched Maya. When she changed direction slightly, they followed. When she avoided certain areas, they avoided them too. When she chose a spot to rest, they gathered around her. Maya never explained herself unless directly asked. She simply moved through the environment like water finding the easiest path. She read the landscape the way others read books. Every broken twig, every animal sound, every change in the wind direction told her something. On the afternoon of day 3, they heard an emergency beacon. The signal was coming from the east, about 2 kilometers away. It was Squad Delta, another team in the exercise. Travis checked their progress. We're ahead of schedule. We could help them and still make extraction on time. Could be dangerous, Cole warned. They might be in serious trouble. We should at least investigate, Lyra said. It's the right thing to do. The squad changed course and moved toward the signal. As they got closer, they heard voices echoing strangely. The sound was coming from underground. They found the entrance to a cave system. The emergency beacon was blinking near the opening. Inside, they could hear Squad Delta calling for help. Their voices sounded panicked. Travis approached the cave entrance carefully. This is Squad Gamma. What's your situation? A voice echoed back. We're trapped. Followed a passage looking for shelter. Now the way back is blocked. And there's gas. Some kind of toxic fumes rising from below. We need help fast. Travis turned to his squad. We need a plan. Ideas? Everyone started talking at once. Cole suggested using climbing ropes to pull them out. Dax wanted to find ventilation shafts. Finn proposed using their emergency air filters. Lyra thought they should call for instructor intervention. Maya said nothing. She walked to the cave entrance and looked inside. Then she walked around the perimeter of the area, studying the ground. She found 3 other openings smaller than the main entrance. She examined each one carefully, noting the air flow, the temperature differences, the way sounds carried. Then she simply walked away. "Chin, where are you going?" Travis shouted. Maya did not answer. She disappeared into the forest. The squad stared after her in confusion. Did she just abandon them? Cole asked incredulously. Maybe she's scared, Dax suggested. No, Lyra said slowly. She's doing something. Give her a minute. They continued debating rescue plans. 5 minutes passed. Then 8. Travis was about to send someone after Maya when she reappeared. She was breathing slightly harder, her uniform dirty from crawling. Maya walked directly to Travis and gestured for him to follow. Come. What did you find? Travis asked. Exit route, Maya said simply. Ventilation shaft. Comes out 300 meters that way. She pointed into the forest. Wide enough for people. Safe climb. Travis stared at her. You mapped the entire cave system in 10 minutes? Most of it, Maya confirmed. 3 passages. 2 dead ends. 1 connects to surface. Showed Squad Delta the way out from inside. They're climbing now. The squad rushed to the location Maya indicated. Sure enough, they found another cave opening hidden behind thick vegetation. Squad Delta was already emerging, coughing but alive. Their leader, a female Zentarii named Kessa, looked exhausted but grateful. Your human found us, Kessa said to Travis. She appeared in the tunnel like a ghost. Drew a map in the dirt showing us the way out. Didn't say a word, just pointed. We followed. Travis looked at Maya with newfound respect. You went into an unstable cave system alone without telling anyone, and mapped multiple passages in the dark? Maya shrugged slightly. Airflow patterns showed the connection. Just had to follow them. That was incredibly reckless, Travis said. But his voice held admiration, not criticism. Also incredibly effective, Kessa added. She approached Maya directly. Thank you. You saved our entire squad. Maya nodded once, uncomfortable with the attention. Both squads continued toward the extraction point together. Squad Delta was slower, still recovering from the toxic gas exposure. But they made good time. As they walked, Kessa moved up beside Maya. You don't talk much, Kessa observed. No, Maya agreed. But you notice everything. Maya was quiet for a moment. Talking uses energy. Observing gives information. Information keeps people alive. Kessa smiled. Your squad is lucky to have you. Maya glanced back at Squad Gamma. Travis was walking with more confidence now. Lyra and Dax were laughing about something. Cole was helping Finn navigate around a difficult section. Finn had stopped arguing about everything and started watching the terrain instead. They had learned. Not from her words but from her actions. They had learned that silence could be smart. That observation mattered more than discussion. That the quietest person in the room might be the one seeing everything clearly. They're learning, Maya said softly. That's good. The storm came suddenly, as storms on Talos 3 always did. Dark clouds rolled across the purple sky, turning afternoon into twilight. Thunder cracked like weapons fire. Rain began falling in heavy sheets, cold and stinging against exposed skin. Both squads took shelter under a rocky overhang. They were still 5 kilometers from the extraction point with 18 hours remaining. Plenty of time under normal circumstances. But Squad Delta was moving slowly. 3 of their members had breathing problems from the toxic gas. Another had twisted his ankle badly in the cave. They needed rest and medical attention. Travis checked his communicator. The storm was interfering with signals, but he could see the extraction timer counting down. 18 hours and 12 minutes. We need to keep moving soon, he said. The extraction window won't wait for us. Kessa looked at her injured squad members. We're slowing you down. You should go ahead. We'll follow when we can. We're not leaving you, Lyra said firmly. Then we all might miss extraction, Cole argued. The rules are clear. If you're not at the pickup point when the transport arrives, you fail the exercise. The 2 squads began debating. Some wanted to split up, with the healthy cadets moving ahead. Others insisted on staying together. Voices rose over the sound of rain. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone wanted to be heard. Maya sat apart from the group, watching the storm. She had been observing both squads for the past several hours as they traveled together. She knew each person's strengths now. She knew how fast they could move, how much endurance they had left, what skills they possessed. She also knew the terrain. In the past 3 days she had memorized every landmark, every geological feature, every variation in the landscape. Her mind held a detailed map that no electronic device could match. The argument continued. Travis wanted to carry the injured cadets. Cole thought that would be too slow. Dax suggested building stretchers. Finn calculated that even with stretchers, they would barely make the extraction window. Maya stood up and walked to the center of the group. Everyone fell silent, surprised. She rarely inserted herself into discussions. "We can do both," Maya said clearly. Her voice was quiet but certain. Travis turned to her. "Both? What do you mean?" Maya looked at each person in turn, her eyes measuring, calculating. "We can help Squad Delta and reach extraction on time. I have a plan." For the first time since the exercise began, everyone stopped talking and listened. Maya knelt and drew in the wet dirt with her finger. Simple lines representing the terrain. Current position here. Extraction point here. 5 kilometers northeast. She marked another spot. But there's a canyon 2 kilometers east. Runs parallel to our route. Cuts travel distance by half if we use it correctly. The canyon? Kessa frowned. We scouted it yesterday. Too steep to climb down safely. Not everywhere, Maya said. She drew more lines. Northern end has a natural ramp. Slopes down gradually. Once in the canyon, the floor is flat and clear. Runs for 3 kilometers almost straight toward extraction point. We exit on the far side using a rock fall I saw yesterday. Like natural stairs. Cole shook his head. That's a huge detour. Going east to the canyon entrance, then following it, then climbing out. That's at least 7 kilometers total. 6.8, Maya corrected quietly. And the canyon floor is easier terrain than the forest. We can move faster there. Weather is better too. The canyon walls block wind and rain. Travis studied her crude map. Even if that's true, how does it help Squad Delta? They still can't move quickly enough. Maya pointed to different members of both squads. Travis, Dax, and Cole are strongest. They carry the injured cadets in shifts. The canyon is smooth enough for carrying without stumbling. She pointed to others. Lyra, Finn, and I scout ahead. Clear any obstacles. Find the safest route through. She pointed to the remaining healthy members of Squad Delta. The rest maintain middle position. Carry the equipment and supplies. Distribute the weight. She sat back. We reach the canyon entrance in 40 minutes. Cross the canyon floor in 2 hours. Exit in 30 minutes. Final kilometer to extraction in 30 minutes. Total time, 4 hours. Leaves 14 hours buffer for problems. Everyone stared at her. It was the most words Maya had spoken in 3 days. The plan was detailed, specific, and confident. How do you know about the rock fall exit? Travis asked. We didn't go near that part of the canyon. I saw it yesterday, Maya said. While everyone was setting up camp. I walked the perimeter. Always check surroundings. Finn clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The plan is logical. But it requires perfect execution. If we encounter any delays in the canyon, we could be trapped. Already considered that, Maya said. She pointed to her drawing. 3 emergency exit points along the canyon. If we need to abort, we climb out here, here, or here. Back to original route. Kessa looked at her injured squad members, then at Maya. You've been planning this? Even before we got trapped in the cave? Maya shook her head. No. But I observe terrain constantly. Store information. When problem appears, solutions are already available. Just connect the pieces. Travis stood up slowly. This is either brilliant or crazy. Possibly both, Dax admitted. But it's better than any other idea we have. I trust her, Lyra said simply. She hasn't been wrong yet. The vote was quick. Both squads agreed to follow Maya's plan. They reorganized immediately. Travis and Dax fashioned carrying harnesses from their climbing ropes. Cole volunteered for the first shift carrying an injured cadet. Maya, Lyra, and Finn formed the scout team. They moved out as soon as the rain lightened. Maya led them east through the forest. She moved with purpose now, no longer following but leading. Every few minutes, she would pause and check their position against landmarks only she seemed to recognize. 42 minutes later, they reached the canyon. Just as Maya had described, the northern end sloped down gradually. The descent was steep but manageable. Maya went first, testing each step, then signaling the others to follow. The canyon floor was exactly as she had promised. Flat, clear, protected from the wind. The rain barely reached them between the high walls. They moved in formation, the scouts ahead, the carriers in the middle, the equipment bearers at the rear. Maya set a steady pace. Not fast enough to exhaust anyone but not slow enough to waste time. She had calculated the optimal speed for a group carrying injured members. Every 15 minutes she called for rotation. Fresh carriers took over from tired ones. No one carried for too long. No one got too exhausted. An hour into the canyon crossing they encountered an obstacle. A section of the canyon floor had collapsed, creating a debris field of broken rocks and loose soil. The passage was blocked. This wasn't here yesterday, Maya said, studying the collapse. Fresh damage. Probably from the storm. Can we get around it? Travis asked. Maya examined the walls on both sides. Too steep to climb here. She looked back the way they had come, then forward. Emergency exit point 2 is behind us. 300 meters. We can backtrack and climb out. That will cost us an hour, Kessa said, worried. Wait, Maya said. She approached the debris field carefully. She tested the rocks with her weight. Some shifted dangerously. Others held firm. She spent 5 minutes mapping a path through the rubble, placing markers on the safe stones. Then she turned back. Single file. Step exactly where I stepped. No deviation. Slow and careful. It took 20 minutes to get everyone across the debris field. Maya went last, making sure no one was left behind. On the far side, Travis grinned at her. You're full of surprises, Chin? Maya just nodded and kept moving. They continued through the canyon. Maya's time estimates proved accurate. 2 hours after entering, they reached the far end where the rock fall created natural stairs. The climb was harder than the entrance, but manageable. Maya and Finn helped pull the injured cadets up the steeper sections. When they emerged from the canyon, the extraction point was visible in the distance. A cleared area marked with beacon lights. They had made it with over 13 hours to spare. But they were not alone. 2 other squads were also approaching the extraction point. Squad Beta came from the west, their cadets looking exhausted and muddy. Squad Alpha arrived from the south, walking slowly, several members limping. All the squads reached the extraction zone within minutes of each other. Instructors were waiting there, monitoring the exercise completion. Instructor Kelvin stood with a data pad, making notes. Squad Beta's leader collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. We barely made it. Got lost twice. Argued about directions for hours. Squad Alpha's members looked equally drained. They had debated every decision, wasted energy on conflicts, and taken the most difficult route because no one could agree on alternatives. Squad Gamma and Squad Delta arrived in good condition despite their challenges. The injured members were tired but stable. Everyone else looked alert and organized. Kelvin approached Travis. Report, Cadet Travis. Your squad rescued Squad Delta and still arrived early. Explain. Travis glanced at Maya. It wasn't just me, sir. Cadet Chin developed the strategy. She knew the terrain, calculated the timing, and led us through a canyon route that saved time and energy. Kelvin's eyes shifted to Maya. Cadet Chin. The same cadet who never speaks in class. Yes, sir, Maya said simply. Kelvin studied her for a long moment. Come with me. I want to ask you some questions. Maya followed him away from the group. Kelvin pulled up footage on his data pad, showing her movement through the exercise. You've been remarkable, cadet. But I'm curious. In my classroom you never volunteer answers. You never participate in discussions. Yet out here you demonstrated complete mastery of tactical thinking. Why the difference? Maya considered the question carefully. In the classroom everyone talks to prove they know things. Out here talking wastes energy. Out here observation matters more than discussion. Out here being right is more important than sounding smart. Kelvin nodded slowly. You've been learning all along. Just not in the way we expected. I learn by watching, Maya said. I process internally. When I speak, I make sure it matters. Kelvin looked at the other squads, then back at Maya. What you did today, that wasn't just survival training. That was leadership. You saw the whole picture. You understood every person's capabilities. You created a solution no one else could see. Maya shrugged slightly, uncomfortable with praise. This footage, Kelvin said, gesturing to his pad. I'm going to use it for training. Other cadets need to see that there's more than one way to be competent. More than one way to lead. Maya met his eyes. Will they learn? Some will, Kelvin said. The smart ones. The ones who understand that the quietest person in the room might be the one who sees everything most clearly. 3 weeks after the Talos 3 exercise, Maya sat in her usual seat in the 4th row of Advanced Tactical Theory class. Around her, other cadets discussed the morning's lecture topic. They debated combat formations, argued about defensive positions, and competed to sound the most knowledgeable. Their voices filled the classroom with constant noise. Maya took notes quietly. She listened to everything but said nothing. Her hand never rose. Her voice never joined the debate. To a casual observer, she looked exactly as she always had. Unremarkable. Invisible. Just another silent student. But something had changed. Instructor Kelvin stood at the front of the room, watching her. He no longer saw a disengaged cadet. He saw someone processing information at a level most others could not reach. He saw a tactical mind that worked differently, but perhaps more effectively, than the traditional academy methods taught. When the class discussion finally quieted, Kelvin activated the large display screen. Today we're introducing a new training module. It's based on recent field exercise footage. I want everyone to watch carefully and think about what makes this approach effective. The lights dimmed. The screen showed aerial footage of Talos 3's purple forests and rocky terrain. The cadets settled into their seats, expecting another standard training video. Then Maya's face appeared on screen. Several cadets recognized her immediately. Whispers spread through the classroom. "That's Chin," someone muttered. "The quiet one." "Why are we watching her?" another cadet asked. Kelvin's voice spoke over the footage. "This is Cadet Maya Chin. Over 72 hours, she demonstrated tactical assessment skills that saved 2 squads and achieved the highest efficiency rating in this exercise's history. Watch how she operates." The footage showed Maya's first night on Talos 3. The screen split to show 2 views. On the left, Squad Gamma set up their camp in the obvious clearing, everyone talking and debating positions. On the right, a smaller window showed Maya quietly moving her bedroll to the rocks 30 meters away. "Notice," Kelvin's narration continued, "Cadet Chin doesn't announce her reasoning. She doesn't argue with her squad leader. She simply takes action based on her environmental assessment." The attack came on screen. The predators hit the main camp while Maya remained safe in her position. Several cadets in the classroom sat up straighter, paying closer attention now. The footage continued through the 3 days. It showed Maya marking paths, identifying safe water sources, and creating stone trail markers. Each clip was accompanied by Kelvin's analysis. "Traditional military training emphasizes vocal communication," Kelvin explained. "We teach cadets to share their observations immediately and loudly. But Cadet Chin demonstrates an alternative approach. She observes silently, processes internally, and acts decisively. Her method wastes no energy on debate and makes no unnecessary noise that might alert threats." The classroom watched Maya navigate the river crossing, then find edible plants, then position herself strategically during rest breaks. The footage showed how Squad Gamma slowly learned to watch her actions instead of waiting for verbal instructions. Then came the cave rescue. The screen showed Maya disappearing into the unstable cave system alone, with no backup and no communication. Several instructors in the viewing room had gasped when they first saw this footage. It violated every safety protocol. But then the footage showed her emerging 10 minutes later with Squad Delta following safely behind. The rescue had worked because Maya had trusted her ability to read air currents and map passages quickly. Reckless? Kelvin asked the class. Perhaps. But also remarkably effective. Cadet Chin assessed the situation, determined she was the most qualified to execute the rescue, and acted without waiting for committee approval. In combat situations, this decisiveness saves lives. The final section showed the canyon crossing. The footage displayed Maya's hand-drawn map in the dirt, her detailed plan, and the flawless execution that brought both squads to extraction early. When the video ended, the classroom lights came back on. Every cadet was silent, thinking about what they had seen. Even the usually vocal ones had nothing to say immediately. Kelvin faced the class. Questions. A Zentarii cadet raised her hand. "Sir, are you saying we shouldn't communicate with our squads?" "No," Kelvin replied. "I'm saying communication takes many forms. Verbal discussion is one tool. But observation and action are equally valid, sometimes more so." Cadet Chin communicated constantly. Through her positioning, her choices, her behaviors. Her squad learned to read those signals. Another hand went up. "But sir, in your class you grade us on participation. How can we follow Chen's example if staying quiet means failing?" Kelvin paused. This was the question he had been wrestling with for 3 weeks. The Academy is changing that policy. Starting next semester, we will evaluate tactical thinking through multiple methods. Written analysis, practical demonstrations, and yes, classroom discussion. But discussion will no longer be the primary measure of competence. Cole, who had been on Squad Gamma, raised his hand. Sir, I was there. I saw Chin in action. But I still don't understand how she knew so much. How did she learn to read environments like that? Why don't you ask her? Kelvin suggested, gesturing to Maya. Every head in the classroom turned toward the fourth row. Maya felt dozens of eyes on her. Her instinct was to sink lower in her seat to avoid the attention. But she remembered Kelvin's words at the extraction point. Some cadets would learn. The smart ones. I read the survival manuals, Maya said quietly. All of them. Multiple times. I practiced observation during every training exercise. I ran extra drills in the simulation rooms when they were empty. She paused. And I listened in class. Every lecture. Every discussion. I absorbed everything even though I didn't speak. But why didn't you share that knowledge? Lyra asked. She had also been on Squad Gamma. Why didn't you tell us what you knew? Maya considered this. Would you have listened? Before the exercise, would any of you have valued my opinion over your own? The classroom fell silent. The honest answer was no. Maya had been the quiet one, the invisible one. If she had spoken up in class, her contributions would have been overlooked or dismissed. Exactly, Maya said softly. Words are cheap. Everyone has opinions. But on Talos 3 my actions proved my competence. You learned to trust me because I was consistently right, not because I talked the loudest. Kelvin nodded approvingly. This is the core lesson. In the field, results matter more than rhetoric. Cadet Chin earned her squad's trust through demonstrated skill, not self-promotion. Another cadet raised her hand. Sir, what should we call this approach? This silent tactical method. The Academy is designating it as silent tactical assessment, Kelvin replied. It will be taught alongside traditional verbal communication methods. Cadets will learn both approaches and understand when each is most effective. Over the following weeks, Maya's footage became required viewing for all tactical courses. New cadets studied her methods during orientation. Advanced students analyzed her decision-making processes. The Academy even created simulation scenarios based on her Talos 3 performance. Maya herself remained unchanged. She still sat in the fourth row. She still took notes quietly. She still never raised her hand unless directly called upon. But now instructors understood. They no longer marked her down for low participation. Instead, they watched her written work carefully, noting the depth of analysis that revealed her true understanding. Other students began approaching her outside of class. At first, Maya found this uncomfortable. She was not used to social interaction. But gradually, she discovered that some cadets genuinely wanted to learn her observational techniques. She began holding small study sessions in the library. No more than 3 or 4 students at a time. They would watch simulation footage together, and Maya would point out details others missed. The way an enemy unit moved indicated their training level. The pattern of disturbed vegetation revealed how recently a path had been used. The behavior of local wildlife telegraphed approaching weather changes. She taught them to be quiet, to watch, to think before speaking. Some students struggled with this. They were too accustomed to constant verbal processing. But others discovered they had natural talent for observation that had been suppressed by the Academy's emphasis on vocal participation. 6 months after Talos 3, the Academy graduated its first class trained in both traditional and silent tactical methods. The graduation ceremony included a presentation on innovative teaching approaches. Instructor Kelvin was recognized for developing the silent tactical assessment program. During his acceptance speech, Kelvin called Maya to the stage. She walked up reluctantly, uncomfortable with public recognition. The auditorium filled with applause. Cadet Chin, Kelvin said, changed how this academy understands competence. She proved that there are multiple paths to excellence. Some leaders command through powerful speeches. Others lead through quiet example. Both are valid. Both are necessary. He turned to face the graduating class. You will enter dangerous situations. You will command diverse teams. Remember what Cadet Chin taught us. Watch the quiet ones. Listen to those who speak rarely but meaningfully. The person who says the least in the planning room might be the one who sees the threat no one else notices. They might be the one who finds the solution everyone else missed. They might be the one who keeps you alive. The graduates stood and applauded. Maya stood beside Kelvin, feeling awkward but also proud. She had not changed the academy through arguments or persuasion. She had changed it by being exactly who she was. By trusting her own methods even when others doubted them. After the ceremony, Travis approached her. He wore his new officer's insignia, having graduated at the top of his command track. Chin, I'm getting my first squad assignment next month. Real combat patrol on the frontier. I requested you as my tactical observer. Maya looked at him questioningly. Tactical observer? New position, Travis explained. Based on your methods. Someone who stays quiet during operations, watches everything, and only speaks when they see something critical. Command approved the role specifically because of what you did on Talos 3. Maya considered this. A role designed around silence and observation. A position where her natural tendencies would be valued rather than criticized. I accept, she said. Travis grinned. Good. Because out there, beyond the academy, things get complicated fast. Debates waste time. Arguments cost lives. I need someone who can see what others miss and act without hesitation. That I can do, Maya confirmed quietly. She walked back to her quarters that evening, thinking about the future. The academy had changed because one instructor had looked beyond traditional measures of competence. He had seen value in a different approach. He had recognized that silence could be strategic, that observation could be powerful, that actions spoke louder than words. Maya still never raised her hand in class. She still processed information internally rather than verbally. She still trusted her observations more than group consensus. But now the academy understood. The instructors valued her contributions. Her fellow cadets respected her methods. She had proven what she always believed. That you don't need to be the loudest voice to be the most valuable. That watching and thinking often achieves more than talking and debating. That the person who speaks last, who waits until they have something important to say, is often the person everyone should have been listening to all along. In the end, Maya's greatest lesson was simple. Sometimes the quietest cadets are the ones who see everything most clearly. And in dangerous situations, clarity saves lives.